Wow, AI. It's moving so fast, right? Hard to keep up.
It really is. Every single week, something shifts.
And this last week, June 9th to the 15th, 2025, it felt, I don't know, particularly packed, lots of big moves.
Definitely felt significant.
So our goal today, as always, is to cut through all that noise, figure out what actually matters from this week.
Right. We want to pull out the important bits, the surprising stuff, so you feel genuinely informed.
Exactly. We're doing our deep dive into the key AI news from that specific week.
And just to set the stage, we've looked at a pretty wide range of sources here. You know, the big tech news sites, company announcements, research blogs too.
Trying to get the full picture.
Yeah, a comprehensive view of just how fast this landscape is changing.
Okay, let's dive in then. Where should we start? Maybe with the corporate chess moves.
That makes sense. The week really sort of kicked off with a bang from Meta.
Right. While everyone's watching the models themselves, Meta made this. Well, it feels like a deeper, longer-term play, starting with a massive investment.
A really massive investment. They announced a strategic partnership with Scale AI.
Okay.
And they invested somewhere between 14.3 and $14.8 billion.
Billion? For what kind of stick?
For a 49% stake in Scale AI. But honestly, the money isn't even the most surprising part.
Oh, what's more surprising than nearly $15 billion?
They also hired Scale AI's CEO, Alexandr Wang,
Hired him away.
to lead a completely new AI lab at Meta and its focus, specifically superintelligence.
Wow. Okay, superintelligence. That's a loaded term.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And, you know, this whole deal, the investment plus the hiring, it's already raising some eyebrows.
Regulatory ones, I bet.
Exactly. Questions about these acquihire deals where you're basically buying a company mainly for the people, not just the tech or assets.
Right, because it can sometimes sidestep the usual merger reviews, affect competition down the line.
Precisely. It's something regulators are looking at more closely now.
So back to superintelligence, coming from Meta, from Zuckerberg. I mean, he's known for these big pivots, right? Like the whole metaverse thing.
He definitely goes all in.
So what does this signal, this focus on superintelligence? Is it just talk, or is this Meta really trying to leapfrog everyone? Like Google, like OpenAI. What's the ambition here?
I think it signals a very clear, very aggressive ambition to compete at the absolute highest level of AI.
Yeah.
They're not just thinking about current products, they're betting on leading whatever comes next, the next big paradigm shift.
And Scale AI is key to that. What's their background? I know the name, but refresh my memory.
Right, so Scale AI, who was founded back in 2016 by Alexandr Wang, who, get this, was a 19-year-old MIT dropout at the time.
19. Seriously.
Yep, and they got early backing from Y Combinator, which, small world, was led back then by Sam Altman.
The OpenAI guy. Huh, it always comes back around.
Doesn't it? Scale's main business historically has been providing the human workforce needed to label and fine-tune AI training data.
Ah, the data annotation piece. Crucial, but less glamorous.
Exactly. They've worked with basically everyone. Anthropic,
Right.
OpenAI, Meta themselves, Microsoft, you name it. So Meta knows their value.
So this isn't just about Scale's tech, it's about the process, the data pipeline, and crucially, the talent led by Wang.
Right. And it fits this bigger pattern we're seeing. Big tech companies kind of gobbling up talent without formal acquisitions.
Like Microsoft did with Inflection AI staff.
Exactly that. Or Google leaders coming from Character.ai. Amazon's deal with Adept. It's a strategic talent grab.
So Meta's move puts pressure back on Google and OpenAI, forces them to show their hand on the long-term superintelligence front.
I think it does. They have to articulate their own roadmaps more clearly now.
Okay, so that's Meta betting billions on the future foundations. But then you have Apple at WWDC doing something very different.
Very different, yes. More focused on the now.
Their question seems to be, how does AI change your life, like right now, on the devices you already use? Let's shift to that, because this felt like a big moment for AI becoming tangible for millions.
Absolutely. Apple unveiled what they're branding as Apple Intelligence. And it's rolling out across, well, everything. iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, even the Vision Pro.
Okay. What's the core tech change here?
A really significant part is the releasing on-device foundation models for developers.
On device, meaning the AI runs directly on my phone or Mac.
Exactly. The actual AI processing, the inference part, happens locally for many tasks.
Not in the cloud.
Right, which is huge for speed, for privacy, and for working offline. It lets developers build things that weren't really practical before.
Okay, Apple's always hammered on user experience and privacy. So with Apple Intelligence, what are the standout features? Like the one or two things that will genuinely change how I use my iPhone soon, not just a tech demo.
Yeah, they're less about flashy demos and more about integration. Think about live translation happening right within messages, FaceTime, even regular phone calls. And because it's on device, it's private.
That's pretty cool. What else?
Then there's creativity stuff. Genmoji gets an update. You can mix emojis with text descriptions to make new ones. And Image Playground gets new styles. It can even use ChatGPT to help generate images. But, and this is key, only if you explicitly give permission.
The privacy angle again. User control.
Always. Then there's visual intelligence. You can search for stuff that's literally on your screen.
Like text in a photo or an app.
Yeah, or ask ChatGPT questions about what's on the screen, find similar items on Google or Etsy, even pull event details from a screenshot straight into your calendar.
That sounds genuinely useful, like really practical.
And for the Apple Watch, there's Workout Buddy. Uses your workout data, your history, to give personalized motivational feedback.
How?
Delivered in a generative voice they built, using the Fitness Plus trainers' voices. So it sounds encouraging, supposedly.
Interesting. And you mentioned privacy multiple times. How are they guaranteeing that, especially if some stuff still needs bigger models?
That's their big pitch. Breakthrough for privacy and AI. A lot runs on device. For the heavier tasks that need more power.
Yeah.
They use something called private cloud compute. Apple built specialized servers using their own silicon. And the key promise is your data is cryptographically secured, never stored, never accessible to Apple, and processed only for your request. They're even having independent experts verify this.
That's a strong stance. It's definitely Apple's brand. But you wonder, right, in an AI world where data is king for training.
Does it limit them?
Yeah. Is that privacy focus a long-term strength, or could it subtly cap how good their models get compared to rivals who hoover up data?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Time will tell.
One more Apple thing, shortcuts are getting smarter too.
Yeah, they're integrating Apple Intelligence more deeply. So you can build shortcuts that tap into the on-device models or even call out to ChatGPT for specific tasks within a workflow.
Like what?
The example they gave was comparing an audio lecture transcription against your written notes automatically. Could be huge for students, researchers, anyone wrangling information.
Okay, so we've got Meta's huge bet on foundational superintelligence, and Apple integrating AI deeply into the user experience with a privacy focus. What about the models themselves and access to them? How is that landscape shifting?
Well, probably the biggest shockwave on the model access front came from OpenAI.
Okay, what do they do?
They slashed the price of their main API, the one developers use to build apps on their models. Specifically, the new O3 model API.
Slashed by how much?
By 80%. 80.
Whoa. Okay, give me the numbers.
All right, so the old price was $10 for every $1 million input tokens, that's the text you send in, and $40 per $1 million output tokens, the text the AI generates back.
Right.
The new price. Just $2 per $1 million input tokens and $8 per $1 million output.
That's an enormous cut, basically making one of the most powerful models out there drastically cheaper.
Exactly. It makes O3 way more affordable, even cheaper in some ways, than comparable models from Google or Anthropic.
What's the strategy there? Just grabbing market share? Or is it something more? Because making these powerful tools so cheap feels like it could change the whole industry's economics. Does it risk commoditizing the core AI tech?
I think that's precisely the point, or at least part of it. This price shock isn't just about winning customers today.
It's a strategic move.
Yeah, it feels like OpenAI might be trying to commoditize access to powerful foundation models. Yeah. Make O3 almost like a utility.
How does that help them?
Well, first, it puts immense pressure on competitors. They either have to match the price, which might be unsustainable for some, or find other ways to differentiate beyond just raw power.
Like focusing on specific niches or maybe enterprise features?
Maybe. Second, it dramatically lowers the barrier for startups and developers to experiment and build on OpenAI's platform, which leads to more innovation.
And more usage data flowing back to OpenAI.
Exactly. Building that data moat, as they call it. The more people use it, the better OpenAI can potentially make their future models, creating a feedback loop that's hard for others to replicate.
So it's a low price, high stakes strategy, battle competition, spark innovation on their platform, and gather usage data. Clever.
And they didn't forget the high end either. They also launched O3 Pro, a premium version for users needing more power or features.
Covering both ends of the market. Any other moves from OpenAI?
They also announced a multi-cloud strategy, adding Google Cloud alongside Microsoft Azure.
Ensuring they're not solely reliant on Microsoft for their computing needs. Diversification.
Precisely. Compute independence is crucial at their scale.
Okay, so OpenAI is aggressively pushing accessibility. What about other players? Any significant model news, especially maybe on the open source side?
Yes, definitely movement there too. Mistral, the European AI company known for strong open models.
Right.
They launched Magistral, which they're calling their first reasoning model.
Reasoning, meaning it's better at logic, planning, that sort of thing.
That's the focus. Domain-specific, transparent, multilingual reasoning. They're also highlighting speed, claiming it's up to 10 times faster than competitors in certain modes within their chat interface, like think mode or flash answers.
Interesting. Is Magistral open source?
Partially. They released Magistral Small as open source under the Apache 2.0 license, but there's also a Magistral Medium, which is a more powerful, closed version for enterprise customers.
So a hybrid approach. Keep the core small model open, monetize the bigger one.
Seems to be the strategy. And speaking of open source, Baidu also made an announcement.
The Chinese tech giant.
Yeah. They plan to open source their next-gen AI model, Ernie, by the end of June 2025.
Another major model going open.
It highlights this ongoing dynamic, doesn't it? The tension and sometimes collaboration between the open source movement and the big proprietary model developers. Everyone's trying to figure out the right balance for driving adoption versus maintaining control and monetization.
It's fascinating to watch that play out. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked corporate strategy, models, pricing. But what about AI making a tangible difference in the real world? This next one felt like a genuinely surprising and impactful application.
Oh yeah, the Google DeepMind news. This is really something.
Tell us about it.
They, along with Google Research, launched a website called Weather Lab.
Okay.
It's an interactive site showcasing experimental AI models they've developed for forecasting tropical cyclones, hurricanes, typhoons.
AI for weather forecasting. I know that's been worked on, but what's new here?
The performance. These AI models can now forecast hurricane paths and intensity up to 15 days out.
15 days? That's much longer than usual.
Much longer, and they can generate like 50 different possible scenarios.
Yeah.
But here's the really stunning part.
Go on.
Internal testing shows these AI models are not just as accurate, but often more accurate than the current state-of-the-art physics-based forecasting methods.
More accurate. How much better are we talking?
Get this. They achieved a 1.5-day improvement in the accuracy of 5-day cyclone track predictions.
A day and a half better prediction 5 days out.
Yeah. And normally, achieving that kind of improvement with traditional methods takes over a decade of incremental work.
That's incredible. How is AI making such a huge leap so quickly? What's the mechanism?
It's essentially the power of deep learning applied to massive historical weather datasets. The AI learns complex patterns and atmospheric dynamics that are incredibly difficult or computationally expensive to model perfectly with traditional physics equations alone. It can process more data faster and spot correlations humans or older models might miss.
So it's not replacing the physics models entirely, but augmenting them.
Well, in these tests, it's actually outperforming them in key metrics. But in practice, yes, it's about providing better tools. They're already partnering with the U.S. National Hurricane Center, the NHC.
For validation.
Exactly. Scientific validation. And NHC's expert human forecasters are now actually using these live AI predictions as one input alongside all the other models they look at.
That's a serious endorsement.
It is. Now, Google is careful to emphasize that Weather Lab itself is a research tool, not an official source for warnings. You should still rely on official forecasts.
Of course. But the potential impact here. Getting an extra day or more of accurate warning for a major hurricane, that translates directly into saving lives, better evacuations, better resource deployment.
Absolutely huge potential impact. It's a prime example of AI tackling really significant real-world problems.
Truly life-saving potential there. Okay, so from global weather patterns down to our keyboards, AI is also making waves in specific industries and how we work day to day, right?
Definitely. We saw more evidence of that this week, too. For instance, in the software development world.
What happened there?
The AI coding assistant company, Cursor.
Ah, yes, I've heard of them. Helps developers write code faster.
Right. They just closed a massive funding round, $900 million.
Wow. At what valuation?
A $9.9 billion valuation. Alongside releasing their version 1.0, which includes new features like a bug bot to help find and fix errors.
Nearly a $10 billion valuation for an AI coding tool. That shows some serious investor confidence in that space.
Huge confidence. Investors are clearly betting big on AI, fundamentally changing how software gets built.
And beyond coding, what about the broader workforce and education? Any signals there?
A couple interesting points. First, New York State actually started tracking layoffs specifically related to AI.
Tracking them how?
Through their warn notices. That's the system requiring companies to give notice of mass layoffs. Now they're asking companies if AI is a factor.
So acknowledging AI's potential impact on jobs, both creation and displacement.
Exactly. It's a sign that policymakers are starting to grapple with the workforce implications. But at the same time, you see efforts to prepare people.
Like training initiatives.
Yeah. For example, We Think Code, an educational initiative, received a $2 million grant from Google.org.
What for?
To expand AI skills training programs, specifically in South Africa and Kenya. So it's this dual picture. Concern about displacement, but also investment in education and upskilling globally.
It's that constant push and pull with transformative technology, isn't it? Okay, we've covered a lot. Meta's ambition, Apple's integration, OpenAI's price cuts, Mistral and Baidu on open source, Google's weather breakthroughs, coding tools, workforce impacts.
It was a busy week. Really shows the intensity of competition, the speed of innovation.
And the strategic moves companies are making, plus these increasingly diverse real-world applications popping up.
Absolutely. If you try and zoom out, connect the dots from this week, it feels like we're hitting a point where AI isn't just about potential anymore. It's not just advancing capabilities in the lab. It's fundamentally changing its accessibility.
Like with the OpenAI price cuts.
Right. And its integration into our daily lives, like the Apple stuff, and even into these bigger societal systems, like weather forecasting or workforce tracking. It's moving from abstract concept to tangible tool.
That feels right. So maybe the final thought for you, listening out there. Consider how all this plays out for you. Think about these trends. The push for privacy on your device, the dramatic drop in cost to access powerful AI, the rise of open source options. How will that reshape your own interactions with tech, with information, really soon?
What new things will suddenly become possible or easy for you?
Exactly. What's the next aha moment AI is going to unlock? Maybe not on a global scale, but just for you, in your work or your life.
It's definitely worth thinking about.
Keep exploring, stay curious. This AI world isn't slowing down anytime soon.